right when he got done with his second bugle, we had already seen the antlers coming up. That's how close this guy was. And it was just, dude, he was gorgeous. He wasn't like some massive bull, but he had mass, dark mane. You could tell he had just been wallowing. And he pokes his head up. And from my position, all I could see was his head, and he was staring right through me towards where Jake was behind me. I hear behind me, Jake and our buddy goes, he goes, Jake, there's a bull. And Jake's like, what? And he's like, there's a bull.
Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Hunting Stories Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and we got another great episode for you today. Today, we're actually connecting with Johnathan McCormick. If you're a longtime fan of the podcast, you know that he was one of the first 5 recordings that came out on opening day, or when we first released. I released 5 episodes at the very first publish. So that being said, he's been a friend for a long time. He's a great hunter. He's a great man. He's doing some really cool things. So if you haven't, give him a follow. All the links you need are in the show notes. I don't want to steal his thunder, but he does have some great stories for us today. But Johnathan, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate you. For you listeners, if you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to give us a review at the end. But let's go ahead and kick this thing off and let Johnathan tell you some of his stories. Thank you. All right, Johnathan, welcome back to the Hunting Stories Podcast, man. How are you?
I'm doing really good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing really well. Yeah. I'm glad to see you here. You're, I think you were like episode 3 or something like that. You were one of the first 5 that I recorded, and it couldn't be better to chat with you. I know that when I started this podcast, I had like so many questions and things that I was like curious about, and I was like, this guy doesn't know me at all, but I reached out, and you were more than happy to jump on a phone call, walk me through a lot of the stuff that you would learn, because you started, your podcast, a year or 2 before me. And yeah, man, I can't thank you enough, man. And it's been fun to see you explode recently. So Johnathan, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Always trying to make things better. I'm actually playing around with the lighting right now for people that are watching, trying to figure out how I want to get things set up. And I want to build a studio. I want to get some live podcasts going on. Those seem to be the way to go, and I prefer that too. I'd love to be able to go out and do something with the guest, and but that'll be down the road. I don't know. Are you planning on doing something like that too? You want to get some live stuff going?
I've played around with the idea. It creates a lot more complexity to like recording things and keeping it consistent, and I'd rather put out stories every week than like miss a couple weeks because I'm waiting for someone to come by and step into my studio. I've tried to do them in the woods. I actually have a really funny recording. Maybe I'll sneak it in at the end of this episode of me trying to do an in the field podcast. Like I have this like little mic clip, and I'm talking about how slippery it is, and you hear me just eat dirt. Like I hit the ground so hard, and I'm just like, okay, you can hear. I don't have any air in my lungs, and I'm like, I'm done talking. This is a bad idea, and I just hung up the mic and have not tried since. So I've tried it in the field. I've thought about doing it like at camp settings, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But at some point I'll crank out a couple after the harvest podcast that we're all sitting around a campfire.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. That's a good idea for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's do this, man. In case people haven't listened to episode 1 through 5 or wherever your episode is, why don't you introduce yourself so they know who you are, kind of what you're up to, and then we'll dive into some stories, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name's Johnathan. I run the RedBeard Outdoors podcast, YouTube channel, Instagram. Recently just got unbanned off of Instagram or flagged or whatever. Apparently I had some very sexual posts, if you can believe that. Yeah.
That's why I follow you.
Yeah, exactly. I was holding, I had an exploding target that we shot with the rifle, and that was sexual content apparently. And I was holding a protein tub of protein just like this, nothing fancy. Anyway, no, just hilarious. So I finally it's been about 2 years that I've been working on getting unflagged.
Really?
So now we're back on the growth train of, they keep flagging me for knives, guns, which stuff like that I understand. But then I start getting flagged for sexual content. I'm like, all right, someone's out there intentionally flagging me because their little algorithm or whatever would not be flagging me for that. So
I was getting flagged for drug use all the time. Oh. And I'm like, okay, interesting. And it was whenever there was a grip and grin photo, some anti-hunter would go on there and flag it, and I'm like, this is a guy talking about like sitting in a tree with his son. What does this have to do with drug use? Like this doesn't, and I don't know why, but I haven't been flagged in a while, so we'll see. I actually stopped using hashtags for a while because I figured that's how they were finding us.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, that same thing. Yeah, I put tool instead of knife, little things like that. It's just, it's silly. But anyway, YouTube's a growth platform right now, I feel like. And so I've been trying to push for that. The podcast doesn't do amazing on YouTube, but and then Spotify actually lets you listen and watch as well. So I've been putting out the videos on Spotify too. So that's been a lot of fun.
Nice, man. And you have great interviews. You have gear reviews. I mean, you kind of dabble in it all, man. It's been fun to see kind of you find yourself as you explore all these different areas that you can express like who you are, in the hunting industry. So it's been cool, man. Especially because you were this little guy when I reached out. I mean, I won't say little. You were still substantial
I was just
compared
getting started. Yeah.
Yeah, but you were only a year or two into it. Now you're a juggernaut in the industry.
I appreciate that. I don't know if I'd say that, but someone's got to take the place of this older generation that's moving out, right? And I'm not going to say that I will ever be a Cam Hanes or I'll ever be, anyone like that. But one of these days, they're going to eventually get to the point where they can't keep doing what they're doing. And there's a group of individuals that I can see moving into that spot. I would love to position myself to where I can be trusted enough where people come to me for gear ideas. I'm definitely not the most knowledgeable person, but I can point you to the right person that knows if I don't know something. And so that's kind of what I pride myself in doing, is just like you said, you reached out to me about how to start a podcast or what to use, what I use. And that's exactly what I love to do, is helping people grow.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and you also found kind of like a new path, right? So when you look at some of those old heads, right, the Cam Hanes and all those guys, they all kind of started writing articles. None of them really were writers, but they're like, I got to write articles, I got to get in these magazines, and they all kind of took that path. And there's definitely a new generation coming through, and I think it's more in line with what kind of you're doing, which is cool. And man, you've had a ton of success. But man, I could talk about how cool you are for all day, Johnathan, but that's not why we're here. Everyone can figure that out on their own.
Speaking of supporting people, and this is something too that I love to do. I mean, this shirt right here, I don't know. I'm assuming you're Christian, some sort of degree. Maybe I'm wrong, but most
non-denominational is what I was raised as. Yeah.
Yeah. But in all essence, you're Christian. You follow Christ. You believe in praying to a God. And so this shirt right here, my buddy Braxton. I don't know if you know Hacks and Hunt and Peaked Out Adventures.
Don't think I do.
Oh, dude. Okay, we're gonna have to get you to get them on the podcast. They are awesome dudes. They've got some good stories. But anyway, they created this shirt. It's my first ever oversized shirt that I've ever worn because I like things to fit a little bit more athletic. And it fits really good. But it's hunt hard, pray harder.
That's the sexual content side that you're getting banned for, there, Johnathan.
That's what it is.
You gotta get out of those mediums and get the bigger shirts, and then you'll stop getting flagged.
That's exactly what it is. But no, just like little things like that, supporting people. I mean, they didn't send this to me. I bought it for them from them. And so it's one of those things. It's like, support people around you. Just going back to, whatever knowledge I have, provide it to someone like yourself that has turned out. I mean, I've loved seeing your podcast grow. I love tuning in every once in a while and listening to the stories, especially as we're driving somewhere. If we have, some long miles and my kids aren't wanting to listen to Harry Potter or something like that, we'll throw on hunt stories. Right. And so, that's kind of what we really enjoy doing. So you've done a really good job bringing people on that have some really funny stories that, most of them have a lot of learning, behind them to where, you can gain some knowledge of what not to do in the field. And there's other times where it's just a good story that you want to hear around the campfire. So absolutely.
There was a while I was getting a little worried about my whole theme because everybody came on and was like, you love poop stories. And I was like, no, it's not me. It's not me that loves the poop stories. But if you got a good one, I want to hear it. I do want to hear it. But that's not the theme of the podcast. So I was worried for a while, but I'm glad that you think it's somewhere else because I definitely have a sector that thinks that I just like everyone telling poop stories. So I appreciate that,
I was going to start with one of those. No,
oh, perfect. All right, man. Well, let's kick this thing off, man. Let's kick this thing off. Why don't you set the stage? I mean, last time you were here, you told some great stories, and a lot of those stories were. What I really loved about your last episode is they were more about like your struggles and getting out there and the grind. And honestly, I think only one of them you had success. You were just telling these amazing hunts that you went on and these great experiences you had. But since then, man, you've kind of become a little bit of a killer. So I want to hear some of these stories about some of the successes you've had. So you set the stage. Let us know where we're at, and we'll just go from there.
Awesome. I can't remember the last time we chatted, but
it was 3.5 years ago. 4 years ago almost.
Yeah. So I don't think I had killed my first bull yet.
No.
This guy right here. So anyway, yeah. So man, that takes me even further back. I don't know if I want to go back that far. I guess we can. We can go to my first bull because that's always going to be in my memory. And I want people, because there's a lot of people out there, and I know some of them. I'll just say Chag Martin. I don't know if you follow him, Chagnovich or Chag. People know him as. Do you follow his stuff?
I'm familiar with him. Have never met the guy.
So he's local here in Utah. Goes to the same bow shop, up there in Wild Arrow. And we chat all the time. He hunts very differently than I hunt. And this is where I come in and try and say, there's nothing wrong with either one as long as you're doing it ethically, legally, and you're enjoying it, right? Now, if you just go out to kill shit, like, you probably should go to a psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever. Just like, it is fun sending an arrow through an animal or sending a bullet into an animal. That is the kind of the climax of the whole thing. But if you're into hunting just to kill things, that's kind of a problem. So somewhere in between there, I'm still in that phase where, personally, if it gets me excited, and personally, if it's bigger or more mature than the deer that I shot or the elk that I shot the last time, then I'm great with that. I try and get more mature as I grow. I don't want to go into it with, I'm only shooting super mature animals, because you're going to get burned out pretty quick. Unless that is your full-time job. I bring up Chag because, like him, he doesn't have, no offense to him or anything, but he's chosen a different path in life where he's not married, doesn't have kids, and this is literally his full-time job. So if I lived up on the mountain 24/7, I'd probably think more like him. Versus me, I've got a 9 to 5, I've got the podcast, YouTube channel, all that. I have 5 kids, and all of this stuff. I'm like, I would like meat in the freezer, and a slightly better experience each time I go out, right? So I'm not just killing spikes every time, right? And so that's kind of where I fall. And so for me, going back to that first year, this guy right here, I don't know if he's all the way in frame. Let's see if I can get.
Can't quite see his antlers. There he is. There he is.
Yeah.
With all those,
so he's
other
nothing
Euros.
huge.
That corner's filling up, Johnathan.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. My wife's not happy. She's like, you got to stop bringing antlers in the house. So now we need to get a cabin.
I killed a bull, and I just went straight to the taxidermy. It was like, you shoulder mount, and went home to my wife, and she was like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, we'll find a place for it. She's like, how's that going to fit in our house? Fortunately, we had one spot, so I can't do another Euro mount, or shoulder mount, but that's right.
Yeah. So that's, for me, I prefer Euro mounts personally, but shoulder mounts are awesome. I just don't have the space for it. If I had a cabin or something, totally.
I was hunting with Jermaine Hodge, and he was like, "No, you're getting a shoulder mount." And I planned on doing Euro, and he's like, "No, you're getting a shoulder mount." And I was like, "Oh, hey, Jermaine,
don't ever plan
twist
on
my arm."
out. Yeah, don't try and out talk your way out of Jermaine. He will talk you into just about anything. That dude's he's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I bought back when, I say back when as if it was so long ago, but a couple years ago, Colorado was still over the counter for elk. Now they've changed a lot of things, and anyway, so I'd hunted Utah for 2 years without success, archery elk, right? Had success with deer, things like that, but I said, great, I've got a group of buddies, the first Phorm outdoors crew, we were going to go hunt Colorado. So they drove out from Midwest. I drove out. It was a lot easier for me, like a 6-hour drive or so from Utah. And we had a buddy that knew this area really well, who was gracious enough to provide a lot of different e-scouting points that he had already gone and put boots on the ground, because he lived a half hour to an hour drive from this place. Yeah. And so he kind of had a general idea of the area. And so we go in there. Man, we pound the miles. We spread out. We find elk. They're bugling. A lot of them were on private. Unfortunately, we couldn't get them off private. In some areas, we played that line game for a little bit. Then there was other times where we just went into an area. There was a lot of bear scat, very quiet elk. And then there was another spot where we decided to go where our buddy Jake, if anyone knows Jake Arvold over there at First Phorm, I love the dude. He sometimes likes to make things a lot harder than they need to be. And we joke about it because he had us walk up this path, which I thought he was familiar with this area, and not so much. I'm looking at the map and the contour lines, like you have to zoom into Onyx to see that they're separate lines. That's how contoured it was. And we're trying to walk up this thing. I'm like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. Like I don't see elk being up here. So anyway, we get up to the spot, finally the one flat spot we could find. Come to find out there was a horse trail that led up to this place that we could have walked.
Yeah.
We definitely did not go that way. We went the hard way. And to the point where, and I think there's some videos out there where AJ, people that know the Coffee Viking, or AJ and Dale Beatty, they literally were pulling each other up with their trekking poles. Because they couldn't get a grip. Like, I slipped so many times. I mean, they could hear me cursing Jake's name the whole way up. Like, I went up, but I was just like, oh, this. I lost a release up there. So if anyone wants to go and find a release in this area, whatever. But anyway, we get up to this flat spot, and I go to set up my teepee. And I'd set the teepee up before, but I'd never set up the stove before. Which, guys, don't do that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
you got to burn those ahead of time.
I should know this. Yeah. I'm the gear guy and I should know this. Again, this was a couple years ago. So give me some slack here. I've learned. But we get up there and it's kind of raining. Everyone's trying to be quiet. They set up their tents. We set up our thing. And I go to set up our stove to dry some stuff out. And I put the stove up just fine. But the stovepipe, if you have never rolled up a stovepipe,
yeah,
it is loud as all get out. Like, it is literally just, if anyone's ever messed around with sheet metal and done the little wavy thing or whatever, that's what it sounds like when you're trying to roll it up. It's like, just super loud, and everyone else is being quiet. And I'm sitting there trying to roll it up, and everyone's poking their heads out of the tent like, dude, shut up. And because we were planning on going hunting that afternoon.
Yeah.
And so finally got it rolled up. After multiple attempts, because again, I'd never done it before, so it wasn't seasoned like it was supposed to be, like all the things. Didn't have cell phone service to YouTube, to look it up and see if I was doing it right or wrong, whatever. So that was a laugh after everyone was frustrated with me. We leave camp. And
Let me ask you one question about that.
Mm-hmm.
I bought one of those big stoves when I bought a canvas tent off of Facebook Marketplace, and you had to burn that thing because it just got the chemicals from whatever. When you fired that stove up, did it just fill your tent with like that chemically smell, or were those little ones a little bit more crisp and clean than the big?
Yeah, the little one was. Yeah, the little one was definitely. It was cleaner. I didn't have any smell at all. It just wasn't seasoned, and so like the stovepipe wasn't cooked, baked into its position that it was supposed to be. So it was harder to roll it up, kind of deal.
Got it.
But yeah, definitely didn't have any kind of chemical smell. But guys, I've learned since then. I've gotten a different stove since then, and I seasoned that one per se, or cooked it in whatever. You're supposed to at least, bake it in. I can't remember what the terminology is, to be honest with you, but you're supposed to put a fire in it and make sure it's all good to go before you take it up.
Muscle memory in the steel, so it kind of like rolls right into shape, makes it easy. Yeah.
That, and then also you burn off any of the chemicals, the oils, things like that they come with. And make sure you wear gloves when you're putting it together, because otherwise your fingerprints will be on the metal, burned into the metal from your oils on your hands.
Interesting.
So yeah, don't do that. I didn't do that because I paid attention the second time and made sure I was doing it right. But anyway, so we get up there, get everything rolled, and then it's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and the rain starts to break finally, and we go to head out. And we'd been, after I made the noise, they were like, all right, well, we might as well chop some wood, get the firewood and everything going. So we were breaking wood, like slamming stick, we were being loud. And we walk out of camp, not even 100 yards. And we get to this kind of clearing, and Jake lets out a bugle. I can't remember if it was I think it was just a locator. And dude, within seconds, piped off. And it sounded like he was across the drainage, but knowing what we know now, he was just over the edge from us.
Yeah.
So he heard everything that we were doing in camp. There was no way he didn't hear it. And so my theory was that he heard all the sticks breaking and everything and thought it was a bull moving into his territory and was coming in. And anyway, so we're all like, holy crap. And we hadn't even had the discussion of who's the first shooter. I mean, we had dudes that I think we had 5 tags in the group.
Okay.
And 4 of us had our bows. So we were like, all 5 of us had our bows, actually. Yeah, because Jake had his too, but he was calling. And so Jake goes back with our buddy that knew the area pretty well. They go back behind us. We get set up. We literally, it was almost like a firing line. Like that's, we had 4 people lined up. And we literally said before we did our little huddle and break, whoever has the best shot, take the shot.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so this bull's coming up, and Jake lets another one go and does some kind of raking and stuff. And right in the middle, or right when he got done with his second bugle, we had already seen the antlers coming up. That's how close this guy was. And it was just, dude, he was gorgeous. He wasn't like some massive bull, but he had mass. He was at least a solid 6. And he was chocolate with white tips. Dark mane. You could tell he had just been wallowing, and he pokes his head up, and from my position, all I could see was his head, and he was staring right through me towards where Jake was behind me. I hear behind me Jake, and our buddy goes, he goes, Jake, there's a bull. And Jake's like, what? And he's like, there's a fucking bull. And Jake's like, oh, and he kind of looks over. So he stops, raking and everything. And he looks over, and we're all like, I'm still like this with our rangefinder because he's staring right through me. To his forehead was 18 yards.
Oh, wow. Okay. How far behind you was Jake that you were able to hear these guys whispering?
Yeah, so Jake was maybe 10, 15 yards behind me, right?
Okay.
And so that bull was trying to figure out what was making all the thrashing and all the sounds and everything. And to my left, there was, so maybe it was just 3 of us lined up to shoot. Me, my buddy AJ, and Dale. And Dale had the best angle because if I had shot, I would have had to dome him. Like, I had no shot, right? So I was sitting there. I wasn't even worried about trying to get my rangefinder down to get it full draw or anything. I was just like, dude, this is so cool. And I didn't see what was going on beside me. And all I hear was, whap! And it sounded the most solid. And I was like, oh, dude. Oh, no, he missed. Like, he hit a tree because it sounded like that. I'm like, oh, no. And the thing wheels around and runs off. And we're all like, oh. And I look over, and Dale is just shaking because Dale comes from Kentucky. He's never seen an elk in his life. This was his first elk he's ever seen. We are 1 day into this trip. Well, I guess we'd been a couple days. We're 1 day into this spot, and he gets this shot off. And we're all super stoked, go over, run over, give him a hug, everything excited. And he's like, hey, we're like, hey, how'd the shot feel? He was like, I think it might have been a little forward, which would make sense with the loud thwap that we heard. And so we're all just kind of talking, whatever. We look at, he happened to be the one that had the videographer with him. At that moment, the videographer just decided to be with him. And anyway, so we watched the video back, and it did look a little forward, but it looked like the arrow went through. And so anyway, we go up to the arrow. We found a little bit of blood, but it was hard because you could tell the bull had literally just been wallowing because there was more mud than anything else everywhere.
Oh,
like it was fresh, wet mud. And so that was a little frustrating because we were trying to look for blood, and there really wasn't enough compared to how much mud. So we literally followed a mud trail trying to find this bull. And we went all the way down to the bottom of this drainage and didn't see anything. We didn't want to bump him. And so as we circled back, we found his wallow. He had mud thrown up, 10, 15 feet in the air. This dude was, and what we kind of theorized, because we didn't see any cows, any signs of cow or anything like that. We think he might have been a satellite bull or an older bull that might have gotten kicked out of the herd, something like that, because he was alone. And go back to camp, review the footage. Dale's going through the whole, replaying the shot in his head, feeling bad about all that stuff that if you've bow hunted enough, you've gone through it.
Even when it's a good shot, you still, as long as you're waiting, you're like, what did I do
unless
wrong?
you see
What
them
could I
pile up,
possibly
you were going through it. Yep. And you're second guessing yourself and all that. And anyway, we end up, long story short on that, we ended up not recovering that bull. We never found him. We were looking at it through, we were able to pull it up on a bigger screen other than just the camera screen when we got back to camp. And it looked like front shoulder, like he would survive.
Yeah.
And so
you think it penetrated that shoulder blade or no?
No. So when it looked like in the first video that it had gone through, it actually looks like it was, when we blew it up on the screen, it looks like the way that it was angled, it went in kind of the front part of the shoulder and through the brisket. So we think it might have hit his collarbone or something, and that's why it was so loud.
Okay.
And like I said, there was so much mud, we couldn't tell how much was mud and how much was blood on the arrow. And so it was just it was kind of a mess. But anyway, they went and looked the whole next day. We're off looking for elk. We spent, I think, 1 or 2 more days in that area. And then everyone else had to go back east. So they had been out there for almost, it was either 8 days or something like that. And I had 2 more days that I could be out there before I needed to drive back.
Gotcha.
So everyone else left. My buddy Joe, that lived locally, was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go back. I gotta take care of some work stuff. But if you end up getting anything, text me and I'll come and help you pack it out." So great. So I went back over to where we had initially started, where we had seen elk, and this camp of, I don't want to mislabel them, but they were essentially Amish or Mennonites, one of the two, because they had this massive camp that they had set up.
Interesting.
They had their, I don't know what they called it, but anyway, they were drinking, they were really loud, having a big old party, but they were definitely of that Amish Mennonite, like just the way they dress, they're just everything.
Were they like young and on Rumspringa or something like that?
Maybe.
I thought they didn't drink.
I think that might be what it was.
Okay.
I think that's what they mentioned.
Rumspringa.
Yeah, it's something like that. Anyway, so they had left. So I went back to where they had kind of camped, because we had seen elk where they were hunting, and we just didn't want to intrude on their hunt, and so we didn't head that way. Well, that night it dropped down to well below freezing. This is still in September, and woke up the next morning at frost everywhere, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is gonna be just that. Whenever the temperature changes and it's on an upswing, right? You want that barometric pressure coming up is generally when you get more animal movement, just on a broad scale. I'm like, okay, I'm going to see some elk. Like, I had heard elk bugling throughout the night, and woke up glassing these hillsides. And then the furthest point of the unit from where I was, which was, as the crow flies, probably 3 miles.
Okay.
2 miles maybe, because I was spotting through the spotting scope. I could see 2 elk butts going into the timber, and I was like, "Dude, I don't care if it's a cow. I don't care. I'm going after it. Like, today is my last day. It's my last full day. Like, if I'm going to kill something, I can pack out through tomorrow. Today is my last full day. I'm going to go for it." So I walked down this 4-wheeler trail, cut up near the edge of the unit, and I was just kind of looking at onX. And this is where, I would highly recommend people learn a little bit about map reading and kind of what animals are looking for, e-scouting essentially. And I found this spot where I'm like, okay, they were coming down, so they were about to bed at this time of day. It's the hottest point of the day, or getting there. They're going to be bedded. They're looking for shade. They're looking for protection, and they want the wind in their face, essentially. So I kind of looked at it. And I'm like, well, I haven't come across them yet. I haven't busted them out. So these are kind of 2 or 3 spots where I think they're going to be. So I went up and around to the very tippy top and was looking for sign. Didn't see anything. And as I'm coming back down, there was one more spot that I wanted to check. And sure enough, right where they had broken into the timber, not 100 yards down from that, there were 2 elk bedded. There was a spike. And then for Colorado, it has to be, at the time it was, I think, at least 4 on one side, something like that.
4 on one side, or like a brow tine over 6 inches, something like that. Those are,
which, you know, I may have range finding binoculars, but I don't have a measuring tape binocular yet. So, you know,
the way I look at it is if it's got a brow tine, it's probably big enough. Like brow tines don't hang out at 4 inches. Like they grow pretty substantial. So
that's true. That's good. That's a good point. So yeah, I was just looking for 4 on one side. One of them had it. You know, and I peek over. They saw me, but they couldn't smell me because I had my wind right, and I stopped moving. So they couldn't figure out what I was. Put my stuff down, grabbed my bow, ranged them, got to full draw, and as I got to full draw, the spike stood up in front of him. And so I was like, crap. I'm like, all right, dude. Way to use a little child, you know, as a shield.
Elk
here.
Secret Service kind of, man.
Yeah,
taking
exactly.
bullets for him.
And so I didn't get a good shot on him because of the spike being in the way. And they didn't run off. They just kind of walked off. They fed off. But as they were feeding and they finally separated, there was too many trees. Just not a good shot. So I just watched them walk off. And, of course, in my head, I'm like, man, like, you know, playing all the things in my head. Like, this is the only time I'm going to see elk. I've got a long walk back to the truck. And so, again, I let them walk off, let things calm down, send a couple texts out from the Garmin. And then I pull up OnX and I'm like, okay, they weren't spooked. They didn't run towards the other unit. They went straight down. I said, so where would they rebed if they rebedded? And I found this little spot that was like essentially a cliff, that just under the cliff, there was a little aspen grove and a flat spot. Then I'm like, if I was an elk, wind in my face, flat spot, back is protected by this cliff, this is where I would be. So I walk down towards that cliff edge, and just before I get over it, you know, I bow my head and say a prayer of just, hey, if this is in the cards today, if this is your will, give me another shot at these elk, let them be here. And I peek over and they're bedded right there. Couldn't have been a more perfect scenario. And the bigger one's closer to me. Now, I'll say yardage because I'm not afraid to say this because I'm confident in how I shoot. But make sure you've shot this with a broadhead repeatedly, not just once and been like, hey, this is my Instagram group, and be done with it. I had shot fixed blade heads past 100 yards and been good enough that I felt consistent at 70 yards.
Yeah.
Or under. And so I get the range, and line of sight was probably longer, but with the angle compensation, which was almost 20 degrees, so it's pretty steep, it was right at 68, 70 yards, somewhere in there. He was bedded. Some people say don't shoot bedded elk. You guys do you. For me, I was, again, confident what I had. And I did aim a little bit back from the shoulder blade because when they get bedded up, you know, the ribs kind of compress. The shoulder blades there almost turns into a tank. So I aimed for kind of back lungs, liver area on an elk, just to make sure I got a full pass through. He had no idea it was there. He was sleeping. Get to full draw, hinge down, check my bubble. Everything's great. Clean break. I mean, I could watch this thing in slow-mo. I can still see it in my head today. And it just passes right through him. Boom. That pumpkin sound. Exactly like you love to hear. And he hops up, trots off like 30 yards, and then just hunches over. And I was like, and I could see blood coming out both sides. I'm like, great. I didn't have another shot. And the spike came over and was kind of like, hey, dude, what's going on? And like, why'd you wake up, man? We were taking a good nap. What the frick? And so I'm watching them. I kind of feel bad, again, because I want the animal to die as quickly as possible. And I was kind of looking around. I'm like, if I come from this side, it's very loud and crunchy because it's dry. I didn't want to spook him. Same thing from the other side. So I just sat there and watched him as he kept nodding. Like, he bedded down, nodded, and then his head would come back up. And then he would nod and his head would come. I'm like, and that's the worst feeling, right? Like, I know it was a fatal shot, but I felt bad that he was taking forever to die. Yeah. I don't ever want that, right? The spike took almost an hour to leave him, which was very interesting to watch. But the spike finally left, and he tried to get up again, couldn't. He kind of turned around and bedded down. And so it was late enough in the afternoon that I just said, look, I'm gonna back out, go down to the truck, texted my buddy Joe, said, "Hey, bull down. I'm going to leave him. If you don't mind coming up here with a 4-wheeler, and or meeting me in the morning." And so as I'm leaving, not kidding you, dude, I came across so many cattle, but I came across 4 other bulls on the way down that were all within 50 yards of me.
Oh man.
And they all presented broadside shots. And I'm like,
probably every one of them bigger than your bull.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I think one of them was about the same size. The other 3 were solid, mature bulls.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my gosh.
It's amazing how those animals know when they're like, oh, there's no threat. No, we're good.
Yeah.
They know the second you've tagged out. They know the second the season's over. They know the second they've stepped onto private, man. It's just something that they know.
Exactly. So I watched those bulls walk out of my life forever, and went back down to the truck and met Joe. Joe picked me up. We went down and we had Applebee's, and the whole time, dude, anyone can ask Joe this. Like, I felt, again, I was sure it was a great shot, or it was a good shot, good enough to kill him. I was concerned about, because there's bears in the area, bears pushing him, coyotes pushing him, something like that. And I just felt bad that he hadn't died by the time I left. And Joe's trying to talk. No, dude, he'll be right there. Yada yada. Dude, I didn't get a wink of sleep. I didn't get just nothing all night. And it got even colder that night, which I was like, great, there won't be any meat spoilage, right? We hike back up there, and Joe. Well, we get up to him. He's right in the same spot. It looks like he tried to get up one more time and tipped over, just fell over. And so he was stiff. No bears or coyotes had gotten to him. And, it at that point, once I got hands on him, I was like, oh my gosh, I got my first bull,
Yeah.
And super excited. The feeling of that is like no other, when you get your first of any animal, or even just any time you go hunting, right? When you finally lay hands on that animal, it's so remarkable to know that everything finally came together. And then everyone knows the work starts. We got it cleaned out, and then I look at Joe and I'm like, I don't want to come back up here. We're doing this in one trip. And he was like, ooh. I'm sorry, what? I was like, yeah, dude, let's test these packs out. Let's see if they hold weight. And he was like, dude, you're crazy. And I'm like, I mean, it's a raghorn. It wasn't a full mature bull, because we would not have been able to do that on a mature bull.
But still 150 pounds a piece, right? Each,
easy.
Easy.
We each carried a hind and a front. I carried the head and the back straps, and then he carried the rest of the loose meat. So yeah, it was well over 100 pounds each. Probably 150 plus. I can't remember what he said he weighed his pack at when he got home, or when he got back to the truck. But anyway, yeah. So we packed it up, got home. I mean, dude, it felt good to have that accomplished, because you put so much time and effort into archery, and for so many years, there's lots of people that go years and years, almost a decade, without getting anything with a bow.
Absolutely.
And
I think
and to be able to
Stream just posted an article about the worst hunter in Colorado. The dude's been going for 40 years and never killed anything, but he loves it. And so that's, it's not always about the kill, but man, is it nice to get that monkey off your back.
Oh yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So he's got a special place in my heart for sure. And then the next year I was able to tag out in Utah. So
nice.
Then this year I didn't kill anything. Not an elk anyway.
That's right. That's right. So, I had a really good, 24, and this year my wife was pregnant, so I didn't have much time. So I had a couple days in the woods, didn't tag out, but had a great time, and that's all that matters. So I didn't tag anything out this year. But the year before, man, I shot 2 axis deer, cow moose, and an elk. So I was, or not an elk, an antelope. The year before that, I shot my elk. But
heck yeah.
You can't win every year, John. You can't win every year.
No, unfortunately you can't. I wish you could. But, I just, my thing is, like, for people out there, one, get after it. Like, if you want to hunt, there's a lot of, some people may look at it as high barriers of entry. Unless you're going from the East Coast to the West Coast, like if you're out West, your state probably holds elk. If you want to go elk hunting, deer, there's definitely a lot more opportunity to hunt deer. Definitely check out antelope hunting. Antelope hunting's a lot of fun. I wouldn't.
Unless you're doing it with a bow.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I'm going to do it with a bow anytime soon, but man, going out with my kids with a rifle is a blast.
I bet.
That's a lot of fun. Let's see. Anyway, so there's my first bull story. That was 3 years ago. So, what's a more recent one that we can share? So there was this one time where I had, I was in full squat mode. Right now, I'm kidding.
yeah. Wearing red lacy underpants.
Yeah, always carry your weapon with you when you are pooping. That is for sure. That's what I've learned from all the poop stories.
I've also learned that from. I had a snack. My first hunt in Colorado, big old rock. We sit down on the rock, and we're like, it's snow everywhere. So I set my rifle down on one side, and I'm walking around this big rock. Like, where do I want to sit down and eat this bagel sandwich? Of course, I sit on the opposite side, start chowing down on this frozen sandwich, miserable. My jaw hurt. But as we're sitting there eating, I look to the right, and there's a herd of elk rolling by. And I'm like, where's my rifle? And I have to crawl around the rock to get to my rifle. By the time I get to it, the bulls have crested the hill away from me, and all I have are spikes and cows. And I'm like, oh, gosh, you got to be kidding me. So never
always
leave your weapon.
Always have your weapon handy, for sure.
In fact, I want to shoot one with my pants down because I know that that's when it's gonna happen. Like it's inevitable.
Yeah. It happens so frequently that there's times where I wonder if people are being honest. It was an excuse to not come home with any. Oh, the one time I saw him, I was pooping and it didn't have my. I'm like, man, so many people have said that at this point. I hope everyone carries their weapon with them when they're on the mountain. If you've got a tag in your pocket, have your gun or your bow with you for sure, wherever you're at.
All right, we are back.
I'm using my hotspot on my phone right now because
of course
Google Fiber decided to crap out on me in the middle of this and didn't give me a heads up. So
nothing like 10 a.m. on Monday morning. Like you think the hours you have in a week, 10 a.m. on Monday morning is the perfect time to take everyone's internet down.
Yes, that's never. No one ever has meetings or anything like that through the internet at that time.
Not me
on a Monday.
Not me.
Yeah.
So. Well, cool.
Anyway.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember where we were because we had a little bit of a break there. So we're going to just hit the reset. And why don't you set the stage for a new story, Johnathan? Man, sorry about that.
So I actually might be able to squeeze in two, but I want to ask you real quick. Do you remember if I told the muzzleloader story, my one and only muzzleloader hunt that I've done? Did I tell that on the last one?
I want to say yes, but I really can't recall.
So for the people that don't, I'll just give a brief synopsis. Guys, you don't shoot muzzleloader frequently enough. Understand that as long as there's not a primer in there, for the most part, muzzleloaders are safe to have the powder and the bullet in it. And I did not do that. I didn't have anything in it because I walked around with it unloaded. And I had a deer come out at like 70 yards on me. And I was trying to load the pellets for the powder, the bullet, and the primer, all while the deer was standing out in front of me. And the only cover that I had was sagebrush. And so I was squatted down in the sagebrush, and this deer comes out. And he was staring at me the whole time.
Yeah.
He hears me take the ramrod out because it's underneath the barrel. So I'm like,
yeah.
As the
that metal on metal.
Yep. And then I've got the butt of the rifle down on the ground so I can get as much pressure as possible. And you just hear, like just the whole time. And he's staring at me the whole time. And this wasn't like a monster buck, guys. I mean, he was a little 2x3 or something like that. This was earlier on before I think I'd even really gotten into archery. And anyway, I finally get it shouldered, and that's when he walks off.
Of course. Of course.
So, and then I called my buddy, and he was like, wait. Let me get this straight. You didn't have it loaded? I said, no, I don't know. I was trying to be safe. And he was like, no, dude, you're such an idiot. Like, so for you muzzleloader guys out there trying to get into muzzleloader, understand your weapon before you take it out there. You don't have to sit there and load it while the animal's in front of you. Okay.
Yeah. I got one for you. Just and this muzzleloader. My buddy and I were hunting. So I started hunting as a muzzleloader hunter in Washington. It's like right after the rut. So it's a pretty good season. Less hunters. there's a lot of rules. You have to have the sabot and the black powder. You have to have an open breech plug, which is exposed to the elements. In Washington, that's tough. So you got to constantly keep your gun dry. But we were sighting in, and we're firing our rounds, getting our muzzle loaders just on point so we can shoot 100 yards if we're lucky, because there's no sights allowed in the state of Washington. And my buddy shoots off a round and goes, "Oh, goodness gracious." He grabs his shoulder and he's like, "Gosh, what has happened?" And so he goes to load his next round, and he can't find his ramrod. And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, shit." He's like, I loaded that last round and left the ramrod in and fired it. He's like, "That's why my gun kicks so hard." So he fired his muzzle loader down a range, and he's like, "Okay, here's the deal." It's like, we're going to act like nothing happened. And he's like, "We're both going to walk down to the targets, and we're going to look for it." So they don't kick us out and try and find this thing. And we never found it, so who knows where it went. Hopefully it didn't hurt anybody. If, 10 years ago somebody got hit with a ramrod in Washington, it was my buddy's fault. But man, muzzleloader, they're fun to shoot, except for when you do that. That's terrifying, especially being the guy next to him shooting. It was more scared for me than him. But his CVA didn't bust, didn't have any problems, just kicked like hell, and the ramrod was gone. But man, when you shoot a muzzleloader, you got that puff of smoke, and you're like, did I hit what I was aiming at? You're trying to get the smoke out of there. They're a fun weapon, and I suggest everybody. They're cheap too, and no waiting period because they're not necessarily considered firearms. I'd suggest everybody get one, if nothing else, just to have fun with, because they are a fun weapon.
For sure. So I want to end on this one. This one's a learning experience that I had this year, actually on my mule deer from this year. So archery, I had gone all through Idaho's season. I hunted more time than I ever have for elk. Didn't end up killing anything. I had some really close encounters, but didn't want to shoot a cow, which I probably should have, but didn't. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because we had to start up our second freezer this year to fit all the meat that we got this year. So I'm happy with my sticking to, if it's not a mature bull, I'm not going to shoot it. Anyway, rolling around in the four-wheeler, it was in a bow case and everything, but I guess I didn't check my bow before I started going out for archery mule deer, because it's not that I hadn't been shooting, but I was shooting my bow that I took to whitetail hunt, which was my 30-inch bow rather than my RX-9 Ultra. And so I always tell people to Sharpie their stuff. I did not Sharpie this sight for some reason on my RX-9 Ultra. Went out, had a
I know what you mean by
time.
Sharpie, but why don't you explain it just so people understand? Because it is something that's very interesting, and if you don't explain it, people may not understand what you're saying.
Let me grab a bow.
But I think I heard about that originally from Dan Staten, Elk Shape, and I know you're a big fan of him too, so that might be where you got it.
Yeah, so Dan, we're buddies. I mean, the bow shop recommends it too, but normally, and this one I haven't sighted in all the way, but on this bow right here, you can see, if you guys are watching, if not on audio, I'll describe it here in a minute, but there's hash marks here, and wherever you get your bow sight here, and like wherever you get your bow sighted in, silver Sharpie it, or if you have some kind of bright colored sight, black Sharpie it, but normally silver Sharpie works great. Your windage and elevation, make sure your windage and elevation is Sharpied, so that if it does get bumped, you can see that it's moved at a quick glance.
Yep.
Other than having to go to a range and go verify, possibly lose an arrow, things like that. Once you have it 100% dialed in for where you want, Sharpie your spots that could possibly move. I didn't do that. And so on this particular bow.
Okay.
And this was a good kick in the pants learning experience for me. So I went out and I was shooting my 30-inch bow, getting it ready for whitetail. Got that dialed in, went out and hunted whitetail. And then I had a rifle hunt for pronghorn right after that. So I hadn't shot my bow for a little bit because I was using my free time for rifle stuff. Went and got a doe pronghorn, came back, and I was like, hey, we're just going to do some kind of day hunts for mule deer. I love the way the RX-9 Ultra shoots. I love that longer axle to axle. I'm okay with shooting longer distances on mule deer. And so we end up going out, and my son and I, right after we just got done with our doe pronghorn hunt, my son's 11, we go out, and I was like, hey, we're not going to go on a long hike. Just, I've seen some deer up in this area. Let's go after them. Well, we could glass the deer from essentially where we parked the truck. And we
Nice.
couldn't get up and around them from the backside because there were actually houses up there. And so, I was hoping to go up and around because it looked like they were feeding that way. So we're sitting there watching them for a little bit, and they actually kind of turned around for some reason and started coming down into the drainage. And so I told my son, I was like, hey, we're going to split up right here. I've got eyes on you the whole time, but I want you to walk over towards the trail road area and have a presence there so the deer don't work that way, right? And so he walks up there, and sure enough, they didn't choose to walk that way. They start working back up the drainage. He comes back to me, and we anyway, we're walking there, and I ranged the buck at, I think it ended up being about 80 yards, but it was kind of a steep uphill shot. Same thing. He presented a broadside shot, and I was very comfortable with that distance. Pin was buried right where you want it to be. Bubble was level, had time to check everything. Broke the shot, felt clean, and I'm watching my arrow go further and further back. He was facing to the left, further towards his hindquarters, and I'm like, what the frick? And it smacks him hard, and I'm like, okay. He kicks, all the does run off, he runs down, and I hear him crash, and I'm like, So my son and I, we walk back up to the truck. I drop the bow off, grab our bags, and I'm like, look, I'm not going to have a shot down here because it's too thick, so I'm not worried about bringing my bow. Let's grab our packs. If he's dead, we'll start cleaning him. If he's not, we'll back out, right? And I was thinking I had gotten a liver shot. And so we get up to him, and or close to him anyway, and he wasn't far off the hiking trail. And it's getting dark, still not quite even close to sunset. I think we still had another 40 minutes or so before sunset. And we get close to him. My son is super anxious about it, not anxious, but wants to get up to him. So he's trying to go out in front of him. I'm like, look, I don't think you understand. If he's injured, I don't want him running off. We got to be slow on this. So we get up to where we saw first blood, and we're walking to where I heard the crash, and we get close, and he's trying to go out in front of me. And I held him back, and I look up, and I see the deer staring me down. And he tried to get up and fell down. I'm like, okay, again, he's hurt. He's not able to get up. We're going to back out. I was worried that the hikers coming down from their hikes throughout the day would maybe spook him. So anyway, we set up at the truck, text my buddies, let them know, hey, it's really not that long of a pack out, but if you wouldn't mind coming to help me clean the deer or pack out. Got my middle son to come up, and anyway, we get back down to him, and he hadn't moved. It looked like he tried to get up one more time and tumbled, but he was dead. And I was like, oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. We actually went up because I thought because at this point it was dark. I had headlamps on, so I thought when we went down to where we had last seen him, I didn't see him. And I was like, crap, he got moved. People bumped him, whatever. So all right, we're going to go back to First Blood, track it from there. Found half the arrow, found half the arrow, walking down. It was good blood. It looked dark, like what I was thinking, liver, but no gut on the arrow, nothing. Really dark red blood, following that down. And we get back to where it turned uphill to where we had last seen him. And I start going up there, and there's at this point puddles, and I'm like, okay, this is good. And he had actually, so the reason I couldn't see his eyes reflecting with the headlamp is because he had stood up and tried to turn uphill and fell, so his eyes were facing away from us. So he was still right in that same spot. I just didn't see him with how thick it was. And so
it's amazing how the shadows from headlamps just change everything you see. So you get up there with a headlamp versus just dusk. It's just totally different.
And branches look like antlers, unless you've got some massive bull, right? But with deer, they can look like that if they're sideways. And anyway, get up to him, pull him down. I'm like, where? And I'm looking for my shot. I'm like, where? There's no arrow hole. what the heck is going on? And I'm shooting I want to say it was either the Hyde or the Whitetail Fury. I can't remember, from Evolution. So it's at least a 2-inch cut, if not a 2.5-inch cut. And I'm like, there should be a gaping something here with how much blood we saw. And I'm just, bring them down to a more flat area. We start looking. I'm like, oh. I had shot him in the femoral.
Oh, okay.
That's how far back it went. And because he was up above me, so he was facing, his left broadside to me. His left hind leg had been forward, and his back leg his right leg had been back. So it actually clipped his Achilles on his left and went up into and buried into the pelvis and tore into that femoral artery, and he was just gushing.
My goodness.
I was like, this is the worst shot, and I'm trying to find a way to put it out on my channel because you guys are hearing it first here, because I want to use it as an educational piece of like, I don't hide those bad shots, but and there's a reason why you don't see any blood in those pictures of that deer because it's in his pelvis, and that was I got super lucky with that because one, it was the biggest mule deer I've ever shot. Two, my son was with me, which is awesome. He was with me for two of my kills this year. And then, for him to have died so quick, I was like, dude, if I could aim for the femoral every time, like no meat loss, no gut, nothing, like that would be fantastic. Right. I don't recommend it though.
If only you were that good, Jonathan.
I know, right?
If only any of us were that good.
if I could see the blood pumping through the femoral and aim for that spot, that'd be awesome. I should say that I was actually aiming for the femoral. Like, no, that's not at all what happened. I got lucky. And when I went out to the range, after I saw that, I was like, dude, there's no freaking way. Because I was dialed. I had shot this bow before elk season. I had shot at 110 yards with fixed broadheads and was grouping within a pie plate.
Yeah.
Like, amazing. And I was like, there's no way
to be off by 3 feet or whatever. Dude, like, that's pretty crazy.
I was like, and so I go out to the range, and just at 50 yards, I was off by at least 1.5 feet to the right.
That's crazy.
On flat ground. And I was like, that's a problem. So guys, check your equipment. You're not going to get as lucky as I did. I had some ginger juju going on that day because that was extremely lucky. But femoral shots, I mean, you hear about people doing it all the time. Hopefully not on purpose, but it works. It's super deadly. But it's definitely not the best place to shoot them. So.
Yeah, for sure, man. And that applies to other weapons as well. So we talked to muzzle loaders. I remember the last time I went out with my muzzle loader, it was like the second to last day of the hunt. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember why, but I touched my sight, and you have to move. It's all moving because it's not a scope. It is just basically a sliding piece of metal. And I realized that it had completely come undone, and I could move it however I wanted. And I'm like, my gun has no accuracy at this point. So I was like, I'm just, it's hard to sight in at camp with a muzzle loader. So I was just like, well, there goes the end of that hunt. So same thing. I fortunately didn't shoot at anything, and I realized it ahead of time, but that could have been really bad. So always make sure your gear is just dialed in. It's really important.
Rifle, like make sure your turrets are dialed back to your zero every time you leave the range. Don't. And luckily it hasn't happened to me, but I know people that it has happened. They're like, man, why am I shooting 3 feet over this deer's back? And then they look down, they're twisted up, 15, 20 twist from where they were shooting out to 800-900 yards, Yeah. And so, just make sure your stuff's dialed with archery. It's always good to silver Sharpie stuff. I highly recommend it. I obviously didn't do it that time, and it bit me in the butt. Usually I do it, and it has worked out for me great. So, that's that. There you go. Learning experience, kind of funny, but awesome story. I might even send you, I don't know, maybe I'll send you the picture for you to put that up if you put it out on YouTube or something. But
perfect, man. Perfect. Yeah. Well, let's do this, man. I know you have another meeting coming up here. So why don't we wrap this thing up, Jonathan? Why don't you tell people where they can find you? And then, of course, I will link all of it in the show notes to make it really easy for people. But where's the best place for people to check out RedBeard Outdoors?
Right now, I'd recommend YouTube. If you're into Instagram, go over to Instagram, RedBeard Outdoors. It's RedBeard_outdoors. YouTube is same thing. You can look me up, RedBeard_outdoors, or just RedBeard Outdoors should come up. And then, podcast, Spotify right now is where I'm really pushing people towards because I like the platform. You can comment.
Yep.
You can watch the videos if you're into watching the videos, or you can listen to audio. It seems to be pretty good overall for podcasts. So definitely recommend there, or on Apple Podcasts, just RedBeard Outdoors. We're almost 500 episodes deep, so
oof.
Yeah.
You cranked them out. When you started, you weren't that far, but then you started doing like 2 or 3 a week with gear reviews and like inspirational things. Man, you've been grinding. I do have one final question before I let you go, which is I know that this last season you lost a bet and your beard was supposed to have been shaved. Did that beard ever get shaved?
It backfired and Black Ovis went out of business. No, I'm kidding. The that was the other side of the bet that we didn't publicize. No, really what happened was Craig and I were about halfway through the shoot and we had talked about betting. Craig over at Black Ovis. Unfortunately, Black Ovis is out of business now, guys. But Craig was like, "Hey, we put your beard on it." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, dude, whatever." Like it wasn't an actual. Wasn't an actual bet from the get-go. Otherwise, yes, I would have. But I totally played it up, and Craig actually thought I shaved because I did the AI thing where I was like, hey, just get rid of my beard. And, dude, I mean, it could possibly be that my face looks like that. I don't know. I haven't seen my face in dude, since I got married, so almost 12 years, I haven't seen my face without a beard. So I don't know what it looks like anymore.
That's funny. I think I've shaved my face once since I've been married, which is like 11 years at this point. And otherwise, my wife was like, "Nope, grow that back right away." And I was like, "Oh, you don't even like what I look like? Okay, you just." All right, man. Well, thank you, man, for coming on. It's always fun to catch up. I'm thinking I might be coming out to that big old conference they have there in Utah, so maybe we can connect. And this time I'll buy you dinner. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, Johnathan. Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate you. Guys, don't forget to follow the links. Give Johnathan a follow, and get out there and make some stories of your own. Thank you, guys. All right, guys. That's it. Another couple stories in the books. Again, I want to thank Johnathan for coming on. Go ahead, follow RedBeard Outdoors. Follow the YouTube. Follow the Instagram. He's doing cool stuff. He's always positive. He's a great guy, great hunter. Don't have enough good things to say about this guy. So give him a follow if you aren't already. Johnathan, thank you again for coming on the podcast. I also have a, what's the word I'm looking for here? A giveaway coming up here in a few months. The best way to stay fully involved, I'm going to mention on the podcast, but it's going to involve Instagram either way. So please give us a follow on Instagram if you aren't following us already. And that way you don't miss out. There's going to be a lot of stuff. I probably have about 15 vendors so far that are going to be jumping in to celebrate the 200th episode. But beyond that, guys, I appreciate you. Please give us a like, a follow, a share, all that stuff. Tell your mama that you love my podcast. But more importantly, guys, get out there and make some stories of your own. Thank you.